There comes a moment in every English learner's journey when frustration quietly replaces motivation. You've been studying for months, maybe even years. You've memorized words, watched videos, downloaded apps. But when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. Lucas felt that too. He did everything he was supposed to. But deep down, something was still holding him back, and he didn't know what it was. Until one simple shift changed everything. If this message is already making sense to you, like this video, because when you do, YouTube understands what matters to you and will show you more content like this to help you speak English better every day. So take a deep breath, because now you're about to see what Lucas discovered and how it transformed not only his English, but his confidence too. Welcome to Stories to Learn English, the channel where your English gets better every day. Hit subscribe and let's get started. Lucas had always been the kind of person who followed the rules. If a teacher said, study 1 hour a day, he did too. If someone recommended a new English app, he downloaded it instantly. His bookshelf was full of grammar books. His phone, full of language podcasts, flashcards, and videos. He had everything except the ability to speak when it mattered most. When a tourist asked him something on the street, he would freeze. Not because he didn't know the words, but because something inside whispered, "You're not ready." He would walk away frustrated, telling himself he needed to study more. One more lesson, one more week, one more course. But the truth was painful. Lucas wasn't just studying English, he was hiding behind it. Every time he said, "I am studying," he gave himself permission to stay quiet, to wait for the perfect moment. And that moment never came. This wasn't about knowledge, it was about identity. He still saw himself as a student, someone preparing for a future that never arrived. That invisible wall wasn't made of grammar rules. It was made of fear and a mindset that kept him stuck. But sometimes all it takes is a single thought to start breaking the wall. And for Lucas, that thought arrived on an ordinary afternoon in the middle of a quiet coffee shop. It was just another afternoon. Lucas was sitting in a cafe, headphones on, watching an English video on his phone. He wasn't really listening, just going through the motions like always. Then someone tapped his shoulder. A tourist looking confused, holding a map. Their eyes met. The tourist asked something in English. Lucas didn't even hear the words, just felt the panic rush in. That old voice came back. "You're not ready. You're still learning. Don't speak." He opened his mouth and almost apologized like he always did. But this time, he didn't. Something inside him pushed forward and he thought, "No, I speak English now." Not perfectly, not fluently, but enough. And just like that, he spoke. The words didn't come out smooth. He hesitated, repeated himself. But he helped. And the tourist smiled, said thank you, and walked away. Lucas stood there, heart pounding, not because he was embarrassed, but because he had just done what he thought he couldn't. Not because he studied more, but because he gave himself permission to speak. That small sentence, "I'm speaking English," it wasn't just different words, and it was a different belief. a belief that opened the door to progress, not perfection. From that moment on, everything began to shift. And Lucas realized you don't wait to become fluent so you can speak. You speak, and then fluency follows. That moment in the cafe didn't make Lucas fluent overnight, but it did something far more important. It cracked the wall inside his mind. He stopped saying, "I'm studying English." And every day, even if it was just for 5 minutes, he said, "I'm speaking English," out loud, to himself, to his reflection in the mirror, to videos, to podcasts, to strangers online. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes he got stuck. Sometimes he forgot a word. Sometimes he laughed at himself. But he never said, "I'm not ready" again. He began to see progress, not just in vocabulary, but in confidence. He started using simple phrases in real conversations, ordering food, asking for help, introducing himself at events. Each small action built momentum. Because when you think like someone who speaks English, you behave like someone who speaks English. That's the mindset shift no grammar book teaches. Fluency isn't just about words, it's about identity. You stop seeing English as a subject and start seeing it as a part of who you are. Lucas changed the way he studied, too. He didn't chase perfection anymore. He practiced shadowing, listening, and repeating out loud. He focused on rhythm, tone, and real-life situations. He didn't just learn new words, he used them. And slowly, the fear faded. Not because he knew everything, but because he finally believed something simple and powerful: I'm a speaker. And that belief made all the difference. Because fluency doesn't begin with lessons, it begins with courage, with giving yourself permission to try, to be imperfect, to speak, even when your voice shakes. And that's what Lucas did. Not once, not twice, but every single day. If you've ever felt stuck like Lucas, if you've ever said, "I'm not ready," or "I need to study more," maybe it's time to ask yourself a different question. What if you're ready right now? Not to be perfect, but to begin. You don't need another app before you speak. You don't need to memorize every rule before you open your mouth. You just need to shift one thought. Stop saying, "I'm studying English." Start saying, "I'm speaking English." Try it. Say it out loud right now, even if it feels strange, even if your English isn't where you want it to be. Say it anyway. Because this one sentence has the power to change your identity. And once your identity changes, your fluency will follow. So here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, speak every day, alone, with friends, in comments, with strangers, but speak. And if this story makes sense to you, if it touched something real inside, then like this video. Not just to support the channel, but because when you do, YouTube will understand what's good for you. And it will recommend more content like this to help you grow your English, your confidence, and your future. And before you leave, comment below, "I'm speaking English now." Not someday, not maybe, now, because fluency starts the moment you decide to speak. Subscribe and join the journey. See you in the next video.